Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Hey guys, today we're doing a big side-by-side comparison, and this is between the new Galaxy S7 and the iPhone 6s. So these are two of the best smartphones out in the market, and we're going to test them through each category and see which one really is better for you, depending on which categories you favor. So let's get right down to it and see which phone is the best phone for you and which one is the best overall smartphone in the market. Now, the first thing we always take a look at is the look and feel of the devices. With the iPhone 6s, we had a similar look to last year's iPhone 6, so very similar in terms of style. We did get the beautiful gold color, which Apple is now known for, and unfortunately, we still got these uglier antenna lines and the hump on the camera that a lot of people don't like, and Apple doesn't even like it on their advertising. Of course, though, it is a really beautifully designed device and has become the standard for a lot of smartphones to kind of live up to. On this side over here, we have the new Galaxy S7. Now, the S6 was a beautiful looking smartphone, but really with the S7, Samsung just did a bit of subtle changes. For one, you have the home button being more flush than before. You also have the camera hump a great deal more minimized so it doesn't stick out as much, which is really nice. And the bump around the edge actually goes further than the camera so you won't scratch your lens. Of course, on the back, you do have two more changes, which is the curved back, which does really make it feel great in the hand, especially when holding it without a case, and knowing that all your cases will fit that, it just really fits comfortably in the hand. It also has a bit more of a matte finish. See, with the glass and the aluminum, both have their advantages. The aluminum will not show fingerprints anywhere near as much as the glass will, but the aluminum scratches a little bit more easily compared to what you can see on glass scratching. So, just in terms between the two, both are going to be different in terms of aesthetic. Overall, between the look and feel, although it was a closer battle last year between the S6 and the iPhone 6s, I would say the S7 definitely is the better looking one. Especially when you look at the back, you just really notice a huge difference where this is aesthetically perfect, whereas the antenna lines really are bothersome, and Apple is getting rid of them on their next iPhone 7, and the camera hump definitely sticks out more in comparison, but that curved back also makes it feel just really good in the hand and less slippery compared to the iPhone 6s. So overall, for the look and feel, it will go to the S7. Now, when it comes to web browsing, the first thing we always take a look at is the displays. On the iPhone 6s, you have a 4.7-inch screen with a 1334 by 750 display, coming in with a 300 pixels per inch so that they hit their Retina display over 300. However, this is a 720p display, which when compared to the S7, you have a 5.1-inch display that is a Quad HD or 2K screen at 2560 by 1440 with a 576 pixels per inch. So definitely when it comes to web browsing, the iPhone should beat this because it definitely has a lot less to process in comparison. You're having about half the speed of this one. So really it should beat it, but we just want to make sure and see how it goes. So let's just go to the website. And the iPhone 6s did beat it. And the S7 is still loading. And there it finally finished loading. So as you can see, the iPhone 6s is definitely going to be faster when it comes to web browsing. Let's see how the response is on both of these. So really good on both. Can't really tell that much of a difference between them. Pinch to zoom seems really good. Pinch to zoom is really good on both. The iPhone's hiccuping a little bit more than usual, but could just be normal. Pinch to zoom seems to be a little bit funnier on the iPhone than normal, but usually it does well with that. And then I don't believe this website supports tap to zoom anymore, but we'll try it. At least on the iPhone. No, it just kind of puts it in normal. Let's see if this will do it. So let's click on these, and then let's just do a double tap to see if we'll get a better. And so, no, at least the double tap isn't working on the iPhone. Maybe it's because it hasn't loaded the page completely yet, or it's just not working on there. So overall, I would say for web browsing, you are going to get a speedier version on the iPhone 6s overall. However, the S7 is definitely going to be a sharper text, and from further distance, you can just see it more clearly because of that. As you can see, you can just stack a lot more text, and it's bigger and clearer compared to having smaller text with it being a longer page. So overall, yes, I would say that it's going to be the iPhone 6s when it comes to web browsing, but it's because of different reasons. All right, now when it comes to sound quality, these two should be fairly similar. Why? Because both of them have one speaker on the bottom right. So hopefully we will hear the similar sound quality between the two. So we're going to start off by playing on the iPhone 6s, then switching it to the 7, then going back and forth. But all that money don't equal the price of fame. From LA to New York, Seattle to the Bay. West night flights to Oahu, getting late. Yeah, I'm going down to Vegas, they know where we stay. Last show in Cali. I was a boy with a dream, had my hit in the clouds. Now I'm sleeping first class, got a bed in the clouds. Hit my pops to pick me up, and he said he was proud. King shit with a beanie on instead of a crown. So hopefully you could hear that difference. Overall, between these two, I feel the iPhone 6 definitely is the clearer between the two. You don't have a muffled sound at the end of it. It's just really clear. However, the S7 is louder between the two, and that's always a tough difference between two smartphones. Really, my preference would be the iPhone 6s, but when I showed it to all of our people here, overall, a lot of them like the S7 because it's louder, so we're going to call it a tie. It really depends on what you like. I believe the clarity is going to be better on the iPhone 6s, but if you want it for the louder speaker, it will go to the S7. So we're going to start with four different categories. This first one right here is our low light, and then we're going to go into detail, then color reproduction, and of course the all-important selfies. So right away, you do see Samsung's major advantage does come into play. When it comes to the iPhone 6s and the S7, there is really no comparison. The low light on the S7 is dramatically better. It handles the overexposure from the light post, which were rather bright on this street, and it definitely deflated them, if you can say, on the S7, whereas the iPhone 6s definitely had that lens flare that was really big and definitely overexposed the shot. Whereas here, this is a shot you could definitely send even if you were doing real estate. This is a good looking shot for that nighttime of this building. So really overall, when it comes to these shots, it definitely stands out that even the detail and the coloration, everything just will look better on the S7. So overall, when it comes to low light, the S7 is definitely going to take the new crown, at least from the iPhone 6s, in terms of being the better low light between the two. So for this category, the S7 will take it. Now in this category right here, we see the first difference of the over-under exposure that is going on with these two phones. While the S7 gets a bit darker in terms of the color, the iPhone 6s is kind of washing it out. Now, very important to note, where I tapped to focus on this was the PS3 logo right here on the iPhone 6s and right here on the Galaxy S7. Again, we wanted to see the detail, and when we're looking at this area, we're going to zoom in and just see how well each one did on detail. but that's what we're really going on in this video is detail. So the color over underexposure we'll get to in the color reproduction in the next photo, but really when it comes to this, you can just see that the blacks are much blacker on the S7, whereas the orange is, more movie orange, but maybe not as true. The real BB-8 box is in between these two in terms of coloring, so it's just interesting overall how they look. But definitely, if you wanted to take a photo of BB-8, this is a much better looking photo than this one. So as we zoom in to see on this side over here with the iPhone 6s, we can see that although the PS3 is in focus, these are definitely under focused, as well as the Disney and BB-8 and the Sphero up here. So it did focus on this part, but just didn't focus overall on everything here. Most of the games look out of focus, except for the ones with big letters like Call of Duty and Uncharted. You can't really make out most of the games. However, when we go over here to the S7, you can see that although these are both 12 megapixel cameras, it's going to be a little bit different in terms of clarity. So definitely the PS3 and PS4 definitely look a lot better. You can read the majority of the titles, although some still fade out. Deadpool's a little bit faded right here, as well as Tekken, but most of them you can see or read a lot clearer than the iPhone did. And even in the text of the BB-8, the Sphero, and Disney logo, you can make them all out a little bit more in comparison, although again not perfectly clear, being both of them are 12 megapixels. So overall, yes, the clarity is going to go to the S7 just for having the better overall detail between the two. Now, where the S7 isn't going to win any fans is with color reproduction. Now, again, the iPhone has a bit more of a washed out exposure in this photo comparing to the S7, as it tends to get a little bit overexposed, but definitely when it comes to green in both the Android and the Sheriff, iPhone is handling it much better compared to the S7. So in compared to green, these are not true on either one of these devices, although it's going to be, again, a little bit darker than you actually see it. This is definitely more brighter than it actually is. So the truth lies in between these photos on most of these colors. For instance, on the purple, it's not quite this vivid, but it's definitely not that quite washed out. And in terms of the yellow, this is actually pretty accurate compared to the iPhone's a little bit too washed out. And the orange is closer here, but it's more in between. Where it really also messes up on the S7 is it's definitely not this yellow, but again, it's not this washed out either. So in terms of color reproduction, while neither does a fantastic job, I would say, with these colors, the iPhone 6s is closer to having the better color reproduction. So for this point, that will go to the iPhone 6s. And now we go to selfies. Well, selfies are a hard task for everyone that wants to take a great looking selfie. But with this one, we strain the cameras to actually see if they can really do it under the harshest conditions. So with this condition between the two, it really is a hard selfie to take, yet this is doing fairly well on both of them. So this is always an underexposed area to the left. We have no lighting whatsoever on this side. And you can see the iPhone definitely handles it with a lot of noise, especially on the top and everything else. It's just a lot more noise. The S7 handles a little bit less and more of a flattened look, but it just does get a bit more detail in compared to the iPhone 6s. Now on this shot, it's getting overexposed by a very bright light coming from the top. And while neither one handles it as good as we've seen phones in the past, even the Note 5 actually in particular handled this shot much better. Overall, in terms of the overexposure, it's a little bit more on the iPhone as the overexposure is bleeding in completely, where over here you're getting a little bit more detailed in everything behind me. Now, in the overall shot, you might notice that one is definitely wider, and that's because the S7 has a much wider angle than the iPhone 6s, which means you can get a lot more in the shot. As you can see, the belt I'm holding here, you can actually see almost the entire belt, whereas the iPhone, you get cut off right here, not to mention the shirt as well. So overall, in terms of getting more in the shot, you definitely want to go with the S7. And overall, in terms of the selfie detail, you just get a little bit less noise on the S7 than you do the iPhone 6s. Although none of these did perfect in this selfie comparison, the S7 just overall is going to be much better in terms of having more clarity and much wider angle. So with that said, when it comes to low light, the S7 is the winner. When it comes to detail, the S7 is the winner. When it comes to color reproduction, the iPhone 6s is the winner. And when it comes to selfies, again, the Galaxy S7 is the winner. All right. Now, when it comes to watching videos, this is something obviously we're doing more and more now. Obviously, we always want to have nice video quality on all of our smartphones. Between these two, though, there is some huge differences. On the top over here, obviously, we have a little bit of a bigger screen with the S7 compared to the iPhone 6, but where it really stands out is with this video, for instance, the iPhone can only play up to 720p on its display simply because that's its resolution for the screen. Since the resolution is higher on the S7, it can play all the way up to 1440p or 2K. So for that reason, obviously you're going to see more detail on these two, but let's see about the color and just the overall image of the screen. So let's see and play it. So as we go to this final image, you just really see a difference between these two. Overall, with the color, you definitely see more vibrancy and again, better detail on the S7 screen versus the iPhone 6s screen. Just a lot sharper and clearer, but definitely just with a better color palette. Why is this? Well, it's because it's an LED screen versus an LCD screen. So just like nowadays when you go to buy a TV, you only really see LED screens because they are the better terms of quality. Now, important to note, because I always have people say this, well, what about LCD? It's more true color. If you do want more true color on the S7, you just have to go to the display and change the screen mode to photo. Photo will give it actually truer RGB or just more color accuracy than an LCD can produce. So that's important to note as well. Overall, the better screen for watching movies is going to be the Galaxy S7. Now, when it comes to gaming, you always have a difference between the two brands. And really, it's more of a difference of the OS itself. With iPhones, you do get the latest and greatest games quicker. For instance, two games that just came out on the market right now is the new Walking Dead game and the new Assassin's Creed game. Although the Walking Dead game is on both platforms, the Assassin's Creed one is currently only on iPhone. Now, this does tend to happen where you get newer games sooner on the iPhone, which does give it a big advantage. However, where Android has a big advantage is going to be that it has a lot more emulators. So if you're trying to play more full-fledged games, such as games that you've played on PSP or games played on Super Nintendo and things like that, the availability is so far greater on Android compared to iOS. So it just depends on the type of gamer you are. If you're more of a casual new gamer, then the iPhone 6s will definitely take this win. However, if you're more of a old school gamer, your Android S7 in this case will take the win. So it depends on the type of gamer you are, but